Hi everyone, welcome back to the new episode of Ecom 365. I'm co-founder and CEO of ShopAgain.io. As you already know, in Ecom 365, we try to answer the challenges that e-commerce businesses and marketers face. For this episode, I have a special guest with me, Renee Harris. Renee is a mom of 9 and an entrepreneur. She created a unique brand of skincare products sold via hardlotion.com. We'll talk about a variety of topics, from her products to raising 9 kids and her journey to success. Thanks for joining us, Renee. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How was your day so far?
It started early for me. I actually start at 4 o'clock in the morning because it's a good time to start when kids are still asleep. So
4 o'clock is more than early, few people will say.
yeah. It's very productive though for me at 4.
I'm with you on that. Actually, my day starts around 4 too.
Okay.
Could you tell us the story of the lotion bar? How you came up with that? How did your journey start?
Yes. So I didn't expect to start a business. I have had a problem with my hands, my skin. Like I get those splits and cracks in my fingers and my knuckles just from having dry skin. And then when you start having children, you're washing your hands all the time. And I tried all kinds of lotion products and I would have Band-Aids on my hands all the time. And then every time you wash your hands, you have to replace the Band-Aids. And I would try putting gloves on overnight just to try to get those healed up overnight. Nothing would fix that. And I just assumed that's just something I'd have to deal with my whole life. And then one day my mom had come to visit and she had found a lotion bar, which I'd never heard of that before, and told me that because she had the same skin issues, she said, why don't you try this lotion bar that I found at a farmer's market and it worked out great for my skin and this might fix yours too. She didn't actually have it physically. She had heard about it. So I had to go and Google, what is it? How do you make it? What is in it? Where can you find it? And I finally found in like a soap making forum how to make one. And it had about 15 different recipes. And I thought, oh, am I going to go and find the ingredients and make this myself? But I was in for the challenge. And at the time, I was learning how to make soap. So I figured, well, it's the same thing. I probably have some ingredients already. And turned out that I just chose the one with the simplest ingredients. And it was just shea butter and coconut oil and beeswax. So I could get a hold of the ingredients locally. And I brought it home and I made it and then used it on my skin, which takes getting used to because it's not easy like a pump lotion. It is easy when you start using it, but at first you're thinking, what do I use it with water? What do I do with it? But it's not. You just rub it into your hands and then put it aside. And it was like overnight, my hands started to feel better. And then within a few days, all the little cracks and splits in my fingers were completely gone. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I still had no intention of starting a business. I was just happy to find a solution. And then a few months later, there was a local farmers market starting up in my town. And I didn't think about the lotion product. I actually was making bread all the time. I was baking bread. And since we had a large family, I could do 24 loaves in one day. So I thought, well, I could sell bread at the farmers market, maybe just have that experience. And I wanted a couple of my older boys to come with me so they can learn and do something different. And it turned out that I couldn't do the bread because there's all these laws. California has a lot of, which is reasonable. They have laws about you have to have this in a special kind of bakery. You can't do it at home. And then I thought, I don't want to be away from home just to make a few bucks on a Saturday. So I decided instead, I have this other product. Maybe I can actually sell these lotion bars that I was making. And so that was the start of our business that now has become a full-time family income for us. So it took about 3 years to get it to the point where my husband didn't have to be at his job anymore and we can support the family on it. But basically we started the farmers market and I got to do all this market research and I didn't know the terms. I had no business background at all. I just enjoyed going out there and talking to people and explaining what I had and seeing them react to that and try to say, this is something you've never seen or tried. People would think it's cheese. We had like little samples and we would pass samples out. And then people would say, oh, is that cheese? And they would almost eat it. It's not cheese. Don't eat it. This is what you do with it. You just rub it on your hands and your hands are great. And so it was a good experience for my boys too. So since then, we have 9 children and 5 of them are already out of the house, but all of them are entrepreneurs. So that experience at the farmer's market, and that's been like 14 years ago now, was the start of something that has become now a family business, but not just a family business. Now it's like a legacy with each of our children growing up and being part of it to now go off and do the same thing themselves with their own talents and interests.
That's a fascinating story, Renee. And I have to say one thing. One thing I observed is that in your story that you shared, that you were already looking out to start your own business. And if not that idea, I'm going to go with this other idea. So that mindset you already have in place. The thing you tried collecting customers' feedback, it's still the most golden advice in the area. Whenever you want to start a business, you want to reach out and speak to your possible customers first. So that was a brilliant start. No wonder your kids got inspired out of that.
Yeah. And they saw the good and the bad. And it's funny that you said that because at the time I would not have thought, because I didn't have a background of saying, if you tried an idea and it doesn't work, you can try a different idea. Nobody said that. Nobody was telling me back then, oh, you should try something else instead. It's just that you kind of naturally think that way. So I look back at some of my early like writings and some of the blog posts I wrote, and I thought, oh, in a way, it was brilliant because it was so fresh. After years of doing this, sometimes you lose that freshness. It was just from scratch. And we would just, the money that we made at the farmer's market, we just put right back into building a little bit more until I got tired of farmers markets and I wanted to go online. And then once we put it online is when it started to take off. And
That's how quite a lot of stores start, that they have a product which they tried before in brick and mortar stores, and then they go online. So they already have the product, they have the product market fit, they have a lot of customer feedback, and then they go online to reach a bigger audience.
yeah, in fact, what I did in the beginning was because we live in a really small town. I'm not in the Bay Area of San Francisco where I have access. And our farmers market was tiny and I didn't have very many customers. But what I needed to know from people is, did it work for them? Did they like it? Did they want to come back? By showing up every Saturday, I could find out that, but I needed a bigger market. So in the very beginning, I actually sent out samples to different groups of people. So I reached out to a group of chef students because I thought, well, chefs have to wash their hands. They must have dry skin. I had a student panel that I sent a bunch of products to and had them try it. And then I had another one with just a lot of moms because we're always washing our hands, changing diapers and so on. So I sent the products to a mom group. So a lot of it in the beginning was just sending products out for people to try and give me feedback. And then you get testimonials and you can get more feedback and find ways to improve it or get photos. So it's a neat way to start the business. And we started the email list that way, which has been very good for us.
Amazing. So you were, I would say, ahead of your time. A lot of things that you tried naturally have become a common practice now. And there are softwares and tools to do those things now.
Yeah. I'm so glad there's software to do those things. That's for sure.
I'm curious about the name of your brand, Hard Lotion. And I also hear you advocating Hard Lotion is better. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes. The reason why it's better is because it doesn't have water in it. So if you look at your pump lotions or this that comes in the tube, one of the first ingredients is water. So you're paying for water in the product, first of all, and then it will not stay in your skin as long. So it's going to evaporate out. It does, what I have to say is that it does feel good usually when you first apply a lotion. If your hands are dry, you put the lotion on, it feels good, but it doesn't stay feeling that way for very long. It's almost like it's gone in an hour. When it's a lotion bar, there's only 3 ingredients. It's just shea butter, coconut oil, and beeswax, and that's it. And it's that beeswax that's super solid and it makes it hard. But when you rub it into your skin, it stays, it seals it in. So the other 2 ingredients, the shea butter, shea butter is super good for all kinds of different skin types or skin issues like eczema and psoriasis. So just plain shea butter, if that's all I had, if that's the only ingredient I had to go be on a deserted island with, it would be shea butter because it can be used it's actually even edible. So you could even cook with it. So it's so useful, but it works really good with all kinds of skin conditions. And when you add the coconut oil, that makes it a little bit softer. And then you add the beeswax and together they bind those 3 ingredients into the skin and it lasts a long time. So there's a lot of people who are allergic to so many things. We have a lot of people who are allergic to different ingredients and maybe they don't even know what those ingredients are, but they'll appreciate the fact that when they come to get our bar, it's only 3 ingredients. They can recognize it and they would know whether or not they're allergic to it. So even fragrances like perfumes have a lot of ingredients. Even if it just says a fragrance, it might just say fragrance, but it's actually loaded with a lot of different ingredients. And that can irritate the skin and people can break out and so on.
I didn't know about that before. Thanks for sharing that. You've also branched out into other hard lotion products like lip balm, sunscreen, buck pump. How do you keep coming up with these different products using the same ingredients?
You find out that you can add one other ingredient, sometimes replace something else. But for example, when I had, I think we were about 2 or 3 years into the business, and I had a baby with me, a 4-month-old at the time. And I was looking at the rash cream that I would buy from the store on his skin. And it was Desitin, which is a very popular rash cream. And it said on there 17% zinc oxide, and that's the active ingredient used for treating rash. And I thought, zinc oxide, I knew what that was, zinc oxide. Okay, so if zinc oxide treats rash, can I blend that into a bar that I have and make it into a rash cream or rash stick? And we could, but we had to change up the ratio of ingredients. So because zinc oxide is a powder and it's more solid like the beeswax, we had to put less beeswax in it and more coconut oil. So we just adjust it. But all of a sudden, in that case, we took out the shea butter. So it's just zinc oxide and coconut oil and beeswax. So just those 3 ingredients blended together at the right ratio made a perfect rash cream. And I, of course, tested it on my children, and it worked great as something that can take care of different rash issues.
There are several ways you actually found your new products: customer feedback, people requesting you to make new products, and just observing around and seeing what you can replace in your existing products to come up with new ones.
Yeah.
Just this week, I came across a report saying there are more female-led online stores than male-led. So your experience will be very relevant to a lot of other store owners out there. And you have raised 9 children. And you run your own business as well. So what did you cut out to make all of this happen?
Well, I would say with the raising of the children, well, we cut out my husband's job so he can be doing this with me full time. Secondly, we've always homeschooled our kids, which I know a lot of people are doing that lately because of necessity in the last 2 years. But for us, it was like that from the beginning. And I would say that we didn't do a lot of the activities that normally families would be running around, soccer or baseball or sports that can really take you places every single night of the week. We did do activities, but in a way, it was definitely something that we felt our children could later become marketable with. So when based on what they were interested in, we would allow those activities as long as it didn't tear the family time apart. And we would allow that, but they were enthusiastic about it. We taught them how whatever their activity is, it has to bring value to other people eventually, maybe not in the beginning as they're learning. So that's why we've raised very entrepreneurial kids. They decided by the time they're 16, if they want to make a living off, I should say, make a business out of it, they could. And that's pretty much what each has chosen to do. So that by the time they're 18, they're not just starting out thinking, what am I going to do with my life? They're already well on their way and they're enjoying it.
Tell me one thing. It's been, I think, 13 years of selling Hard Lotion. What makes you get up and go to work every day, even now?
That's a good question. I think when I see what my older children are doing now, one of my sons he does a lot of coding and software stuff. And then another one is a drone operator and he manages his own company. And then another one is an artist. But for me, what I find joy in is that all of this hard work, because it's been a lot of hard work. And when we're raising a family at the same time, we have to put that family first because we don't want to be split apart or make that suffer. So when I see now looking back, okay, all those hard days of just doing a lot of learning and trying and testing, but then I see it paying off because my kids are doing well and they're following in our footsteps, but in their own way. That's what brings me joy at the end of the day. So I get motivated because I see that they are doing things and they're helping each other out.
What's your top advice for other moms who are also hustling to run their online stores? How can they succeed like you?
I think one thing that's really helpful is to have a community of other moms around you that are doing the same thing. I didn't have that at all for years, but I feel like having the support of other moms who are also business owners for me, taking another step and who also homeschool has been really important for me. So I feel like I connect with other people in that way. And I think just enjoy the journey, which is hard because a lot of it is risk taking. And I was even talking to someone about that yesterday. Like, you can easily get frustrated about the things that don't work the way you expect them to work, but you have to just keep getting back in there and testing new things, but also give other things a long enough time to test out. So you might not see the results right away, but over time, if you just stick with it, but also learn new things and decide what's not worth it and cut those things out. It's a lot of it is just try really hard to enjoy the journey. Otherwise, it's going to go by so fast and you'll feel like, oh, I missed out. I missed out on doing these other things that I could have been doing. Yeah, make sure you're having fun with it when you can.
Absolutely. I want to repeat one point here, which Renne made. When you have a lot of responsibilities, you should get help. And that help could come in the form of community around you. And this community could be from your local group or from your hobby or from anything that you like to do. You can seek help from those around you. And that's a great way to unburden and also to grow in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, Renee. Finally, to our viewers, if you have any questions about e-commerce, paid acquisition, marketing, retention, or development, email us at ecom365@shopagain.io, and we will have them answered by an expert in the future episode. This episode was sponsored by ShopAgain.io, an AI-powered customer retention platform. Thank you for joining us.